Let me ask you a critical question about the viability of your business. Does it have the capability and ability to weather storms, adapt to changing business landscapes, and maintain consistency in business growth? Essentially, what I'm asking you is to assess the endurance of your business. If we all accept the premise that eventually exiting your business is the plan, I have some facts and figures I want you to consider. According to my friends at the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses, a total of 76% of all small businesses will eventually exit their business within the next decade. The top reasons for leaving include retirement at a clip of 75%, with business owners saying that they've taken their businesses as far down the road as they can, and it's time for the next chapter of their lives. Meanwhile, 22% of the business owner population says that they're simply burnt out and they need a break from the day-to-day operations of their business. And finally, 21% of today's business owner population says that it's time to take a pause and they're ready to pump the brakes and reassess the state of their business and their next options in its operation. However, the Federation also reports that only 9% of business owners today have a formal business succession plan in place. For my friend Stephen Pivnik, he's got plenty of experience on how to exit a business successfully. And for good measure, he does it with a sense of adventure and wonder. He's a sought-after keynote speaker, best-selling author, business advisor, and serial entrepreneur specializing in the information technology market. He grew his last company, Binary Tree, to over 200 employees across 12 countries before a successful exit to a $4 million competitor entitled Quest Software. When he's not on the keynote stage or running a Ironman triathlon, running ultra marathons, or climbing one of the 7 summits, he is often advising other founders and entrepreneurs who want the same or similar corporate growth strategy as him. And he joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. If you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, my friend, and I'm super excited to dive into your decades of experience in business, my friend. Great to see you, and thanks so very much for being here.
Kevin, I really appreciate you having me on. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
You know, as am I, my friend. Now, I know you're a man of many trades, my friend. You're a sought-after speaker, a best-selling author, a business advisor, and a serial entrepreneur who specializes in information technology markets, my friend. So I'm wondering if you could start our conversation by giving me sort of a 300 360-degree view of who you are and what makes you so fabulous, my friend.
Oh, who I am. I mean, first off, I'm a son, I'm a father, I'm a husband. So that is what's near and dear to me. But also, I'm a successful entrepreneur. I've grown and sold a relatively large IT company, and I'm an endurance nut job. I love ultra marathons. I love Ironman distance triathlons, and I love climbing mountains. So endurance nut job, entrepreneur. Both of those have a lot in common, I think.
Absolutely. And Stephen, I'm curious to ask you, through your experience in business, has been your greatest contribution in your eyes? What's been your greatest contribution to the field of entrepreneurship?
Um, If I had to pick one, I think it's the impact I had on my kids, my younger daughter specifically. She got bitten by the entrepreneurial bug because I think she saw it live and in action with me. Both my kids have done well through school and have great careers, and I take a little bit of credit behind that because I say this in my book, you learn the grind by watching the grind. I got it from my parents and grandparents, and I think my kids got it from me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you had mentioned your company that you had started from scratch called Brainy Tree, my friend, which I knew you grew to over 200 employees across 12 countries. So good for you before you had a successful exit, my friend, and you sold it to a $4 billion competitor called Quest Software, my friend. So tell me about the company, its impact, and what you learned from running it, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, the entire process was super rewarding. I grew as a person, I grew as an entrepreneur, and I think most importantly, I grew as a leader. And def it was very rewarding to have the staff that I had stay with me as long as they did, through the entire journey. So it was a learning experience from day one all the way to the final end. And I'm happy that it happened and happy that I've learned a lot of lessons that I can share with others going forward.
Yeah, and I know that mentoring is a key metric for you and something you hold near and dear to your heart, my friend. So tell me, why is it important for you to mentor entrepreneurs? What do you get out of it, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really trying to just pay it forward in the community. I benefited tremendously from mentors and advisors throughout my career. Unfortunately, I waited a little bit too long to bring them on because as or most founders, I thought I knew it all, and I waited for I think a little bit too long to bring advisors and mentors into my circles. So I'm hoping to pay it forward in the entrepreneurial community and advise folks, based on the experiences that I've had.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephen, what do you think is a successful roadmap to exiting a business? What questions or procedures should entrepreneurs ask themselves if they want to exit a business? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean that's a really wide topic. I could spend hours talking about it. I mean, if I had to pick one thing that entrepreneurs really owe themselves is to surround themselves with a team and advisors that have done it before. Because it's a very, very intricate process that is filled with a bunch of road bumps and potholes, right? So if you don't have advisors that are telling you, how to navigate that, and if you don't have a team that has experience in going through the exit process, it's inevitable to have a suboptimal outcome. So just get surrounding yourselves with folks that have been there and done that, especially if you personally have not.
Yeah, and Stephen, I'm coming from you today from Canada, and my friends over at the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses say that one of the top reasons that entrepreneurs exit businesses is because of burnout, my friend. So how do you think entrepreneurs can still be successful without burning themselves out? What are your thoughts there?
Sure. I mean, burnout is definitely one of the reasons. There's a whole bunch of reasons that contribute to exits. Burnout can definitely be addressed by, again, it goes back to the team. The one of the main reasons entrepreneurs are burnt out is because they have this philosophy of if it's got to be done right, they have to it has to be done by them. And it's just a fallacy. If they surround themselves with the right people, and the right people are out there, they may be expensive, they may be hard to find, but it definitely is possible to surround yourself with qualified individuals that can help you in the mission that you're trying to achieve to, help you avoid burnout.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the ways to do that is to be a successful delegator, Stephen. So tell me, what do you think is the key to being a successful delegator in business?
Yeah, I mean, it's really trust, right? I think a lot of people wait until they're 100% comfortable. And my mentor and friend Jim Slusher says it's best in his book. You don't need to wait until you're 100% comfortable before you delegate. If you're 75% comfortable with an individual, you should start the delegation process, learn from it, coach from it if there's an opportunity to coach, and then move it forward from there. If you're going to wait to be 100% comfortable with somebody before you start the delegation process, you're just asking for burnout because you're never going to get to the 100% comfort mark unless you start earlier.
Yeah, and to that point, what do you think is the key to constantly evolving as an entrepreneur? Because, what worked 10 years ago in business doesn't necessarily work now. So, what do you think is the key to constantly evolving in business?
I think you need to have a learning mindset, right? There's information, everything changes so rapidly, especially in today's day and age. If one doesn't have a learning mindset and an adaptable mindset, they're going to be caught in the dust, right? So you need to be aware of everything that's going on around you, and be able to adjust and pivot. Very overused term, but incredibly important to be able to do so in today's marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. And based on your experience in digital businesses and the digital information space, Stephen, I'm curious to ask you about how do you think the digital transformation of business has made things more efficient, and what do you think businesses and entrepreneurs still have to do the traditional way to be effective in business? So you can take that two-part question any way you wish, my friend.
Sure. I mean, as far as the traditional side of things, at the end of the day, nothing is going to replace personal relationships, whether it's internal or external, right? Personal relationships with employees, with vendors, with customers will never go away. So people need to, continuously understand the value of a personal relationship. So that's on the traditional front. Going forward with digital transformation, I mean, it's an ever evolving landscape. I mean, the amount of technology being thrown at us on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis is at an all-time high, and that is showing no signs of slowing down. So again, going back to my earlier comment of learning mindset, figure out which technologies are going to be germane to what you're doing, which ones are not, and get behind the ones that are going to be beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephen, as you know, forming relationships, as you just mentioned, is the heartbeat to having sustainable success in business. So, what do you think is the key to nurturing and building long-term and reliable relationships in business? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, it's really being comfortable with the individuals that you're working with and understanding, which ones are going to foster mutually beneficial relationships. Some relationships are going to be one way, and that's unfortunate, but you need to be able to recognize those and steer clear of them and do a better job of gravitating towards, mutually beneficial relationships because they are out there and they will help all parties.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And as you mentioned earlier, my friend, you have a sense of adventure. You've competed in Ironman triathlons. You've ran ultra marathons and climbed some of the seven summits, my friend. So I'm curious, where does your sense of adventure and adrenaline come from, my friend?
I mean, I keep comparing endurance sports to entrepreneurship because the two of them have so many things in common: planning, preparation, execution, pivots, setbacks, stamina. So I think in my personal case, because I was going down the entrepreneurial route, and then when I started the endurance journey, I just found so many similarities, and they too really, fed off of one another. And when I was, 75 miles into a 100-mile race and hurting, I couldn't help but think back to the times where I can barely make payroll. And I knew that, I got through that challenge on the business front, so that it gave me the power that I needed to get through it on the endurance front, and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. So, tell me, what have been some of your favorite endurance and thrill-seeking experiences, my friend? I'm curious. What's really gotten your adrenaline pumping, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, I was on a very long journey to get to the Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii. So that was the journey was super thrilling. Finally getting to the race at the World Championship in Kona, it was incredibly rewarding that the journey paid off. And right now, I'm really enjoying the journey to get to Everest. So I'm knee deep in some pretty intense training, and I'm leaving for Mount Everest at the end of April of next year of 25, and fingers crossed, hoping for a successful summit.
Absolutely. Well, you're going to have to send me over some pictures. I'm sure it'll be some picturesque scenery, okay?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Absolutely, my friend. So, Steven, you've talked a lot about endurance from sort of an extreme sports and adventure standpoint, but I'm also curious to ask you, what do you think it means to have endurance in business? So, how do you define business endurance, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many aspects to it, right? You need to have the mental fortitude to get through a lot of the tough times because, curveballs are going to be thrown at you all the time. The market will change, a product launch may fail, a key team member may quit, and you can't look at these events while they may seem like it's the end of the world, and we've all had them as founders. They really aren't. So you need to be able to see past these what seems like a catastrophic event and be able to recover from it and continue to put one foot in front of the other and move the ball forward. So endurance is as important in the entrepreneurial world as it is in the racing world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, my friend, you advise other founders and entrepreneurs looking to have the same corporate growth that you experience, my friend. So, what do you think is your biggest lesson that you tell other entrepreneurs and founders about achieving a sustainable corporate growth, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, on the advisory front, right? There's so entrepreneurs are faced with so much advice, right? But it's through the lens of a specific individual. Like lawyers have a specific type of advice, accountants have another sort of piece of advice, and investment bankers, etc. I think what's most important for founders and entrepreneurs is to get advice from people that have been in their shoes, because the people that have been in their shoes are better equipped to help address the needs of the actual founder and entrepreneur and can give advice which is significantly better than just the hollow advice from a specific service provider like an accountant or a lawyer. So look for people that have been in your shoes multiple times for the best advice possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephen, how do you think we develop tenacity in business. What do you think it means to have business tenacity?
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, you just need to understand that, setbacks and failures aren't the end of the world. So as long as you can as long as you can convince yourself that a setback or a failure is just a data point, that it's not the end all be all, use that to learn and to move forward. You will build up the necessary tenacity to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen, in your view, what's the most effective way to achieve clarity from a business sense?
I think clarity is achieved through transparency, right? A lot of entrepreneurs have a hard time being completely transparent to their entire organization about everything that's going on. And in my experience, there really isn't a reason to hide anything except for personal salary information. So everything should be shared. There should be complete transparency. Everybody should understand, the state of the economy, the state of the business. And with that, there can be, better clarity as far as, what the mission is and what the company and founder are trying to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephen, I want to know about your book, Built to Finish, my friend. I know in the book you sort of break it down into two sections in terms of your adventurous side from the endurance sport side of things, and in business, my friend. So tell me about the book, why you wrote it, and what you hope people get from it, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I really wanted to do a couple of things. I wanted to memorialize my journey because I thought it was interesting, right? I wanted my grandkids to read it one day. I had a very, from college dropout to and couch potato to successful entrepreneur and racing and competing in the Ironman World Championship. I thought it was a pretty interesting story, so I wanted to memorialize it, but less for my benefit, but more importantly, to motivate others to set and achieve large goals. So that has been really rewarding to me to hear from people that have bought it, that are emailing me, telling me that they picked up the book and they started setting and going after, large audacious goals. So it was a really rewarding project, and it's paying off for me just because I love when I hear that I've motivated somebody to go do some pretty audacious things.
Yeah, absolutely. Life is all about paying it forward, isn't it?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I was thrilled to have the opportunity to do so via the book and now
Yeah,
podcast on the same by the same title.
yeah, absolutely, my friend. And tell me, my friend, one of the biggest things that I think entrepreneurs can do is to increase the literacy of other entrepreneurs because, there's a big enough pie for all entrepreneurs to be successful. And I think when other people are successful, it's good for the greater good, my friend. So I'm curious to ask you, how do you think we increase educational opportunities when it comes to entrepreneurial literacy for entrepreneurs? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way an entrepreneur can improve themselves is to talk with others, right? So one of the big mistakes entrepreneurs and founders make is thinking that they know it all, right? Because they started a company, and especially if it's a niche company, in a very, very narrow field, they figure that, they have an edge on everybody else and that nobody can help. And that cannot be further from the truth. There's so much knowledge out there. And the worst thing an entrepreneur can do is not reach out for guidance. There's absolutely no shame in asking questions and asking for help because the guidance that one will receive is going to be priceless.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Stephen, outside of hosting this podcast, I do some speaking to businesses emphasizing the importance of hiring individuals with disabilities to help diversify the workforce. So I'm curious to ask you, in your opinion, how can we use the inclusion of diverse opinions and the perspective of individuals with disabilities to create a competitive advantage in business and in the workplace? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, I love the diversity topic. In my specific case, I mean, we had so much diversity in the company that I actually thought it was a competitive advantage. When the diversity crisis hit, especially when it hit the IT space, we didn't have to change a single thing because our numbers were already through the roof from a diversity perspective. And just because, we adapted a philosophy of, hiring the best person for the job, regardless of, race, color or religion. And as a result, we benefited tremendously. So I think the more that that's adopted in the workplace, the better competitive advantage a company will have.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephen, what do you think it means to adopt a bold mentality in business and take smart risks? Because the old Bruce Arians term, no risk it, no biscuit, my friend. So what do you mean? What do you think it means to adopt a bold mentality in business, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, I like you said, I think being bold is all about risk taking, right? So you don't take risks for the sake of taking risks. Take calculated risks and be nimble enough where you can fail fast. So if you're going down a specific area, which is going to be, high risk, high reward, just, watch out for, some of the warning signs. And if they rear their ugly head, be able to, pivot or fail fast and move on. But being bold basically equals being risky in my book, and taking the necessary risks is going to propel a company forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephen, as we end 2024, what business lessons do you think we can take out of this year to be better entrepreneurs moving forward into 2025? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of, technological advantage. I'm sorry, there's been a lot of technological advances this year, specifically in AI. I think companies that have figured out how to use AI are going to, do well in the coming years. AI has many different facets, and it's an incredibly powerful technology that everybody should be utilizing in some way, shape, or form. So figuring out what that means to an individual company and how to best leverage it is going to be really important moving forward.
Yeah, and Stephen, in terms of AI, I'm wondering your thoughts on how we strike a balance from using the advances of AI, but also making sure that the human job isn't replaced. Now, I know that in some cases it will be because AI is sometimes more efficient in accomplishing tasks, but I'm curious, how do you think we strike the appropriate balance there, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really tough, and only time will tell, how different companies, strike the necessary balance. When it's incredibly obvious that AI can replace a specific job, then that's obviously going to happen. But I think that also presents a lot of opportunity for the individuals that may be replaced to do something, on a bigger and better scale, utilizing again AI. So it really behooves everybody to, get behind this wave and understand not only how it can benefit a company, but individuals need to understand how it can benefit them moving forward.
Yeah, and Stephen, as people sort of return to the office and return to their everyday work schedule, I'm curious to ask you about achieving a better productivity in the office or at home, my friend. How do you think employers moving forward can strike the balance to achieve productivity, but also making their workforce happy? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's a really tough one. I mean, everybody was, a little bit spoiled with the work from home situation that they found themselves in. But at the end of the day, nothing beats human, face-to-face interaction, especially for groups or organizations that require, human interaction and collaboration. So the balance is going to be tough to achieve, specifically for new employees that come in and join organizations, right? Because in order for the proper collaboration to occur, there needs to be relationships, right? And it's very hard to form relationships over Zoom. So the companies are going to need to, figure out what the balance is between requiring that people, come in to build those relationships with team members and how they can, continuously foster those relationships from a, partially remote perspective going forward. It's going to be easier said than done, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got two questions left for you, Stephen. And the first, I'm curious to ask you about how do you think there's a correlation between innovation and creativity, my friend? So, how do you think those two things are interconnected in business?
Yeah, I think innovation and creativity are one of the same. I know I overuse this statement a lot. When you're going to market with something, you either innovate or you imitate. There's no shame in imitating as long as you can do it better, right? So there's a fine line between the two, and I think they're both really important in order for companies to differentiate themselves from the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephen, I'm curious to end by asking you about what brings you the most joy in life, my friend, and how do you want your overall professional and personal legacy to be defined? What are your thoughts then?
Wow. Most joy in life is definitely seeing my daughter succeed, right? So I live vicariously through their successes, and nothing makes me happier when I hear and witness their successes. And as far as the legacy goes, I mean, I'm a work hard, play hard, very competitive individual. So I think that's how I'm going to be remembered, that I worked incredibly hard. I played even harder, and I always wanted to win. Is going to be my legacy, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing like being a girl dad, right?
100%. There's no better feeling in the world.
Absolutely. And just very quickly, I'm curious as we end our conversation today, I'm curious, what's your best lesson to an entrepreneur or piece of advice that you would give to an entrepreneur that's just starting out versus your piece of advice for someone that's been in the entrepreneurial game for a while that needs to pick me up? What would be your competing messages there, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, I that's a great question, and I think my answer is the same for both, right? Suffering is optional, and there's definitely a great opportunity to suffer both in the early stages of a company and in later stages of a company. And the entrepreneur needs to surround themselves with people that have been there, done that. And these are different people, right? So there are different, early stage advisors, and there are different later stage advisors. And the entrepreneur needs to make a habit of getting advice from folks that have been in those shoes to help them avoid some of the pitfalls that are inevitably going to be in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephen Paolatelli, if people want to get connected with you or buy your book, what's the best way they can do that, my friend?
Sure. If you go to my website, stevenpivnik.com, that's STEVENPIVNIK. That website has all of my social media handles, including my LinkedIn handle. LinkedIn is probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Fantastic. Well, Stephen, I'm smarter for having this conversation, and I'm delighted that we got a chance to engage in conversation and tap into your decades of experience in business, my friend. You're doing great work and inspiring entrepreneurs from coast to coast. So I want to thank you for engaging in conversation and for being here this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
Thank you, Kevin. This was a great conversation, and I'm happy to have had it. Thank you for having me.